kind of to tell our audience, we're talking to Andy Fryer. He won the TBF, is it the Living a Dream package in 2023 on Lake of the
Yeah.
Ozarks.
Yep.
Andy's, uh, from central, west central, north central Ohio, wherever exactly it is here, but absolute hammer just around the state. Fishes with his dad, has a lifelong um, just journey of fishing. So we're going to, kind of bring that out. And I guess we just want to, give you a shot we want to interact with our audience and tell them, like, because you're speaking for tens of thousands of guys, like, you're the, what you did is like what we thrive for. And I know the the package you won, like some very notable names have won that. Like that's what projected them into their professional careers. Like, am I remembering right? Like Mark Daniels Jr., is that what
Yeah.
he won
Yep.
to break him through? So like this is a really big deal. Like I remember like watching that tournament. I know he won it on an A rig. Like I remember, it's been over a decade ago, but watching it
Right.
on TV. So this is a big deal, dude. And I know it's like probably set in at this point for you, but it's just I take pride in the story too, just because like we were involved a little bit in it, like just by kind of being friends and leading to all that, just the business side of it too. But um, just start off, tell us about how you got into fishing, and we'll ask some questions along the way, and we'll just shoot the bull here for about an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to just start like from the beginning and
Yeah,
kind of work my way? Okay.
absolutely,
Like
man.
straight from the womb, like little Andy. Tell us what you like, where you came from, what's your roots?
Yeah.
Not really. Yeah, just yeah.
Not get too graphic or anything. So I've been thinking about that for a little while, and I'm pretty sure it's just fishing, being outdoors, being on the water is just ingrained in my brain. It's just I never can remember not wanting to go fishing, not wanting to be on the water, not wanting to be outdoors, anything like that. I actually fished my first tournament, first 8-hour bass tournament when I was 5 years old. Um, and my dad had the patience to deal with a 5-year-old kid. Um, and I know I had begged for at least a year before he finally let me, but he had the patience to have a 5-year-old kid tag along with it for an 8-hour tournament and let him fish with him. I've got a 6.5-year-old daughter right now. There's
Mm-mm.
no way. There is no way. I mean, obviously it's a little bit different now than back then with tablets and all kinds of crazy stuff, but yeah,
Yeah,
to have even just the patience or ability to sit out there for 8 hours as a 5-year-old kid kinda
yeah,
shows that that was just something I had always just wanted to do. Um, and I
Now,
actually won.
did you
Yeah.
make it the whole 8 hours most of the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I've heard some stories of you crawling out of some dark places.
Hey, now. So that was so if there was ever any really nasty weather, rainy, windy, cold, something like that, I still went. I still was out there fishing as a little kid, as a youngster. But if it ever got too much for me, I'd crawl into the rod locker for a little while and get out of the rain or the wind, or I would hide underneath the console when dad was driving down the lake if it was too cold or yucky out or anything. But yeah, man, I don't
awesome.
know what the drive was when I was that age, but I was going out. I was going fishing. I might have to hide from the elements for
Right.
for a little
Uh,
while.
I think me and Aaron kind of touched on it. We did kind of a little introduction podcast and just talked a little bit about each other. And I think some people just never get introduced to the outdoors, but if you get shown at a young age, and I feel like some people just are a little more in tune, like naturally for whatever reason or how that works. There's Andys of the world that just go out and everybody knows like you're going to catch them. It don't matter if it's sunny, rainy, like, and there's, there's other Andes around. Like there's some guys that are, we call them sticks in the bass fishing world, but, uh, I don't know if that has to do with like just getting started at such a young age or it's same with hunting. Like there's just guys that are just consistently good at killing a big deer every year. It's like they're just a little more in tune with nature or their instincts are just a little bit better. Like, um, do you think that just has to do with like how early you started, or do you think it's just like some people naturally are just a little more in touch with whatever makes you make those right decisions at the right times?
I think it has to do with whatever your kind of hobby is of choice or whatever you really like. Like you can't the LeBron James, like he was just destined to be a basketball player. That was just what
Yeah,
he was supposed to be. Um, Whether he started when he was 4 or 24 or whatever it may be, like that's just the God given talents that were given to him. I think you might have a different kind of intuition or a sixth sense or something towards being out in nature or what you kind of want or what you really enjoy being out and doing. And for me, that was just always fishing. I'd always been drawn to fishing. Whether when I was little, if it was just throwing a bobber out there with a worm, or if we were out there tournament fishing out on Champlain this coming up spring that I'm super pumped for. It's I think it's just kind of whatever God given talent is out there for you. If you're able to find it and harness it, that really starts to show.
yeah, yeah. So as you, you're talking about 5, 6 years old. As you start getting older, I'm sure your dad's still taking you to tournaments. Did you play any sports or anything, or was it just fishing when you could, and that's all you wanted to do was fish, or was there anything else you were into?
Yeah, so I started playing baseball when I was 9 or 10. I wanted to play sooner, but mom wouldn't let me. But I started playing baseball when I was 9 or 10 years old, and I played through all the way through my senior year in high school.
Yeah.
I started playing basketball when I was 5 or 6 or 7, and I played all the way through freshman year of high school. Um, I'd been this tall since I was like 13. So elementary school, I was the man. Just feed me the ball and I was gonna make it. But
Yeah.
come high school, everyone else grew
Caught up with you, huh?
way
Well,
yeah, way
better
taller
get
than
the
me.
fishing poles back out here.
Time to abort that mission. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, I
Uh,
played I played those two sports. Funny kind of story about that. The freshman basketball coach was the varsity football coach, and he kind of liked the way that I played and everything when I played basketball. And he sat down one day at lunch, and I had my fishing calendar, and he had his football calendar, and we were like marking stuff off. It's like I can skip this tournament to go to this practice, or
yeah,
I can skip this practice if you let me fish this tournament. And eventually we didn't come to an agreement. So
wasn't gonna work,
um,
was it?
no, didn't work out. So I didn't end up playing football, which I
Yeah,
think my body probably
yeah.
agrees
No,
with that choice.
it's tough. I kinda can relate. I played some sports and, like, fishing just kinda slowed down through my high school years, but as soon as it was I graduated, like, I needed something to replace it, and me and dad really got into fishing tournaments and haven't really ever stopped. But, like, where did that go for you, like, after high school? Did you just join a couple clubs or, um, how did that work out, like, progressing to having your first boat and all of that stuff?
Yeah. So after high school, I went to Hocking College,
Okay.
kind of a technical school,
Yeah,
and I
it's
actually
down
went
this
to
way.
study. Yep. Yeah, you might know where it is.
Yeah.
um, I went to study wildlife and fisheries. Um, but being down there, it was kind of a haul to get back and forth. So I didn't fish a whole lot of tournaments during the 2 years I was at Hocking. And then from there, I went to WVU. Um, and then so West Virginia, there's not a whole lot of of bass fishing around there. It was a whole lot of trout. So I just kind of veered off and did a little trout fishing when I was down there. And I actually joined the WVU fishing um, college fishing team the semester that I graduated. So I joined the team and was part of the team. I went to a couple meetings, but I never was able to fish
So was
on
that
the
just
college
firing
level.
off? Like, was
Yeah,
college fishing, like,
yeah,
just
yeah.
becoming?
That was like '09 ish, um,
Okay.
'09, 2010. So it
Yeah.
was just starting to
Yeah,
kind
we
of
we
take
all
hold.
we all unfortunately missed out on that. We
I
had
know.
the Ohio State kids on a couple episodes ago, and I think me and Aaron and you could all agree that we envy the opportunities that they have just to go fish. I mean, it's not free or anything for them, but um, it could evolve, like keep evolving into being, you know, really cool for them
Yeah,
eventually. So
yeah, absolutely. It's and just to have that team aspect as you're learning how to fish um, is awesome. Just to have a bunch of people to bounce ideas off of, bounce something, go practice, hop in the boat with other people. That's huge.
yeah, it'll just make you get that much better, that much faster. I think hopping in a boat with as many different people as you can at a young age, uh, and the way they kind of work together as a team when they travel to tournaments and stuff. Like, college fishing is just pumping out seasoned freaking studs like into the uh, and they don't all want to like fish professionally, and we can all relate to that. It's not as glamorous of a of an industry, I don't think, as TV puts on, but and you can even probably relate to that as we tell a little bit more of your story. But um, what was like your first like tournament win where you're like, all right, like, I just did something. Like, was it a TBX? Was it, the first one you won, you're like, all right, I'm the man.
I always think I'm the man. No.
Well, yeah. Well, you are
I've
the
won a
man.
couple, and
You
I'm like, man, that was a fluke. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have won that one.
I don't know how old I was. I think I was probably 18 or so, and it was I fished ABA as a co-angler because I hadn't bought
uh-huh.
a boat yet. I think I was 18, 19, something like that, and I won the ABA district championship out of the back of the boat. And up until that point, I don't think it had ever been done out of the as a co-angler in Ohio at least. And then I'm pretty sure at that point, I know at least in Ohio, but I'm not sure about nationally, but it was probably I think that the tournament director said it was one of the youngest to ever win the district championship at that point in time. I'm sure it's
All
happened
in the same year.
with yeah,
So,
yeah,
so you were the first guy to ever win an ABA out of the back of the boat, and you won, and you were the youngest to win the district or something.
the district, yeah,
Yeah.
their
So
district
yeah, you were
championship.
you were feeling pretty solid. You were
Oh
feeling pretty
yeah.
solid that year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun. That was a good
Yeah.
time.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a good feeling when you win. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
I guess, I don't know. It doesn't happen to me often enough, but
It doesn't
uh,
it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, you gotta
right.
you gotta soak it in.
So, have you always? Well, let me back up. Are you competitive by nature? Have you always been
Extremely.
competitive?
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So, like, when
Yeah.
you win
That's
one, like, you want more. Like, you're coming for them.
oh yeah, I gotta walk up
Okay.
and flex on everybody. No, I've never been real big on trash talking or anything, but exactly. Yeah, but I was super competitive growing up. Um, like I said, I played baseball all through ever since up and through my senior year in high school, and that one was kind of that was my other sport that I had a lot of focus on. And after I graduated, that obviously kind of got set aside, so I was able to kind of hone in and focus in on fishing to get my competitiveness out.
Yeah, yeah. Who uh, who was your biggest influence, like fishing wise? Was it always your dad?
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely my dad growing up. He had done it. He had fished the Federation stuff way back when it was the thing to do back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, all that stuff.
Yeah, just an
And
OG.
yeah, oh yeah. He's got a, I don't know if he still does or not, but had one of the Mr. Bass jackets, you know. But
Oh,
yeah,
he's still
I
got
wish I.
that bad boy. He's still got that.
Oh yeah, has to. It won't fit on
Yeah,
me. I wouldn't be able to rock it.
that's what I was
You
gonna
should
say.
totally
You're
borrow and just
Yeah,
wear it to a tournament.
it might fit on my one arm. He's a
Yeah.
little tiny guy.
uh, yeah,
Is he
I
better than you?
But yeah, I'm
Is he
sorry.
better than you?
He's better at me at throwing a tube.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
So at
that's
what
his
point were you
that's
like,
his jam.
at what point were you like, I got you, Dad?
So we've always been pretty competitive. We always trash talk when we're in the boat
oh
together
yeah,
and stuff. You got to kind of have that the camaraderie in there, but um, I wouldn't say there's like a specific time or anything where I would say that or felt that. But if there's a two bite going on, dad's coming in with a heavy sack. That's for sure.
yeah,
If there's something else going on, it might not be his tournament, but that's where me and him work pretty good as a good team. Through we fished the Team Bass Extreme circuit, local
yeah.
Central Ohio circuit. We've fished that ever since. I'm pretty sure ever since it was formed. Um, and we were actually this would be our second year, but we've won Team of the Year last year.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah. There's there. I'm fortunate enough to fish with my dad still, and I'd say your dad's a lot like mine. Like he's never just going to stop and say, "Damn son, I just want to tell you you've become a pretty darn good fisherman." But like he'll go around town behind your back bragging on you, but
It's
he's
funny
never going to
whenever
tell
I
you
not to my face. No way.
no.
Yeah. But it's funny whenever I have a co-angler hop in my boat or somebody that I haven't seen in a while. It's, man, your dad just talks about you. So
Oh
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah. No,
No,
that's cool.
yeah.
So
That's
you kind of, you got back into fishing tournaments after college, and then kind of leading up to you qualifying and winning the national championship. Like what did that look like that year, the year prior, kind of going into it?
So when I came back after college and everything, I bought my first boat when I was 23. It was a 17-foot Hydra Sport with like a 115 on the back that worked half the time. Live well pump didn't work. I had to use a 5 gallon bucket to fill it up, but I won some
oh yeah.
tournaments out of that. I won some tournaments out of that. But graduated from that and got a couple other boats. Um, the year that I qualified for the national championship, so that was actually the second time I qualified for the national championship. The first time was on Kentucky Lake, and I got ninth place or something like that. Um, and I missed fishing the day three cut by 6 ounces.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so that was yeah. So
So,
that was
what was that tournament like? What was the bite? Like how'd that all evolve out?
that
Did you
was on
lose a fish?
Kentucky. Oh, I got some stories
Yeah.
about that.
Let's hear it.
Uh,
Let's hear it.
so 20 that was in 2019 fishing Kentucky Lake. So that was when the carp invasion was real thick. So the bites were tough. The whole tournament was extremely tough. It was in the middle of March, if I remember right. Um, but I found a really good A-rig bite on some little kind of pockets right off the side of the main river channel. And the first day I had lost two on an A-rig. One was like a 2 pounder, one was like a 3 pounder, and I only came in with two fish that day that weighed like 8 pounds. That put me like the middle of the pack. I was kind of like, all right, whatever. That was fun. That was actually the last year that TBF supplied the 20-foot Ranger boats for you to fish out of. So that
Okay.
was really cool. Um,
Okay.
so I can kind of say I was able to kind of do that before the sponsorship switched. I think that was the year after that it switched to Phoenix, and they
Got
didn't
it.
they didn't provide the boats. Um, so I only came in with 2 fish that day, lost 2 pretty good ones that would have gave me like 5 extra pounds. The second day, I ended up bringing in four for 16 something. I had some really good ones.
Yeah, you had
Um,
some meat.
I had some, yeah, dude, it was awesome. And I was fishing down this one bank line, and I flipped my tube. Imagine that. Flip my tube up next to this rock and miss him. And by the time I reel in my bait, I look over and my co-angler goes, "Fuck,
Oh.
there it goes." And he had done that like a half dozen times before, and he never caught one. So I just kind of shook him off. But
Ugh.
that one time, dude, he just flung it right in there, landed perfect right next to that rock again. And he sets the hook, and he's like, "Oh, it's little. Oh, it's little," and it's swimming right at him. And I'm like, "No, it ain't, dude."
Yeah.
And it goes behind the boat, and he's like, "Oh my god!" It comes up and jumps. Oh, it was
Did it
it was
throw
a
it?
giant. Yeah,
He
came up
never
and
even
jumped.
landed it.
He never even got it in,
Oh,
So
man,
you
like,
missed 5 pounds day one. And what do you think
and
that
missed.
one would have been?
I mean 4 or 5 easy.
Okay.
I don't want to go crazy saying it was something bigger, but
So we'll,
it was
we'll
4 pounds
downplay
all
and call
day.
it 9 pounds,
Yeah,
right?
and
9 pounds total.
I missed the day three cut by 6 ounces. The way that they do that is it's by region. So the top person in each region gets to fish the day three. Um, and my region, I missed that cut by 6 ounces. And if I would have even had one of those fish that I lost on day one, those little guys, I would have been, if I had both of those fish, I'd have been leading the tournament.
God. Yeah.
So that was a perfect, like, obviously it took a while. That was a hard
That
pill to
stung.
swallow.
Those are the ones you remember, is like
Oh yeah.
the ones that
Well,
got
did you
away.
hear the detail I just gave you in that story? That was 6 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But that just tells you right there that
Yeah. Y
it was just not meant to be at that point. It was
no
not in the timing that was supposed to happen. That one was the format. If you won back in 2019, that was when they gave you the truck and the boat and entry fees to fish the FLW tour for a year. Um,
man.
and so that would have been awesome in some aspects of it, but that would have been really brutal on some other sides of things.
Yes, absolutely,
Well,
and you
let's come back to that because I think that's an important thing to kind of understand as a competitive angler working your way up. Um, so so what year was this tournament?
That was in 2019.
2019, and then you come off that hard loss, and then like how did you rebound? Like, did you just get back into things with your dad, just kind of reset and wow, that was fun, good experience, and move
Yeah,
on?
so
Or
before that, I'd kind of been taking the federation not lightly, but any of the federation tournaments, I was just kind of jumping in, like, okay, this is fun. We'll see how I stack up against the local hammers and see what happens. But after I had that taste of what it could get you to and what could actually happen working your way up through the federation, excuse me, um, that really kind of lit a fire under me of this is actually possible. Like I was close one time like that. I don't want that to be my moment of glory, the story of what could have happened. So those couple years going after that tournament, I took the federation a little bit more serious and um, actually practiced the lakes that we were going to, and um, put a lot more effort into it to try and get back to that tournament.
you, you mentioned that I just wanted to ask you this, real quick before we keep moving forward, but you mentioned that deal with your co-angler. I've dealt with a couple issues like that. It seems like there's just always something that goes wrong, and you always get thrown in. Maybe you and your co-angler just have completely different personalities, which I'm kind of introverted by nature and just not super
Me too.
talkative. And it's kind of awkward sometimes because you feel like you got to almost force a conversation. And sometimes you get a co-angler and it's like best buds from the rip, and then you get another one that's trying to tell you where you should fish before you even launch, like a kind of a type A type dude. So it's always kind of like a personality battle. But it's part of the challenge as well. But have you ever had like a super bad experience with a co-angler that you're just like, God, I hope this never happens again?
Yeah, I've got two very distinct stories like that. The first one was actually when I fished the Bass Opens as a co-angler. So I was the co-angler and the boater was the the issue. It was on the James River. I drew him on day one. He pulled into this backwater slough or whatever it was that I even said when we pulled in, I'm like, I have no idea where we are. It was my first time ever fishing the James River.
Yeah.
Um, and he pulled in there. I think he caught one or two fish out of that little slough, and we went on with our day. I end up because in the Bass Opens you can't have a net, so I end up lipping a 7.5 pounder for him
Oh
during some
wow.
point in the day. It was a giant. Um, I ended up with my 3 fish limit. I don't remember what it weighed or anything, but on day two, I end up drawing Boy Duckett of all people.
Oh,
This
boy
was
buckets.
Come on,
You
this
spill
guys
the
was
you
dirt.
back
guys
in
you guys flip boat docks all day?
did not flip a boat dock, no. But and he was leading. So he was leading after day one. Um this
Oh,
was back
man. This is
I
bad.
don't even this was like 2012, 2013, probably 10 years ago, something like that. But so he's leading after day one. Um I don't really understand where my day one boater connected the dots, but there was a guy that was fishing in his slough by the time he got there. And in his mind, I told that guy to go there. And we caught like 2 fish out of there the first day. Like it was not mind blowing, it wasn't anything amazing. But in his head, I told this guy to go there because I didn't need that spot because I had old boy Duckett spots to go catch the tournament winning fish out of. And we get back to the dock and he like flips me off, says, I can't believe you told that guy to go there. I didn't even see him. I had no idea what was going on. I'd like brushed it off like guys looking somewhere past me or something. I get
Yeah.
up like 2 days later, I get up from it was the weekend. So I get up and I look on Facebook and I have like 27 messages of people asking me, "Did you do that? No way you did that. I can't believe," calling me all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, "What is going on?" And then I find that guy's Facebook page and he blew me up. He reamed
Wow.
me a new one saying he like I gave this guy the spot and that's why he sucked in the tournament. Unbelievable.
Well, I
Man.
don't know you that great, but like you're just kind of like a soft-hearted, like kind,
Yeah.
gentle. Like I can't imagine you doing that.
It
Yeah.
was like I still rack my brain today of how he connected
Ah,
those dots in his head. Like it was crazy.
it's I don't think the issue's you. The issue's his ego not being able
Yeah.
to, admit that the tournament didn't work out for him, and, you see that a lot with fishing, like, we all make excuses, like, we, can't put all the blame on ourselves if we suck that weekend, so,
Yeah, it wasn't
but
his fault. It
yeah,
was mine.
you're definitely not a deserving guy of that. Aaron's
That
right,
was
but,
yeah, that was crazy.
yeah, that's just a bunch of drama I'm sure you didn't care to have in your life. And
No.
if you pride yourself as a fisherman, like that's putting a dent like in your integrity. Like, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
um and that's not cool at all, like in any aspect of life. If someone did something like that to me that involved my business or livelihood, like it just sucks, but I know the people that you probably know closely and care what they think of you.
Yeah.
They know that you wouldn't pull anything like that. So,
Yeah. No, that was just I was shocked.
yeah.
It got to the point where I had to call the tournament director and we were able to point out the guy that was in his was in his spot was like I don't remember all the specifics, but we had to get the tournament director involved.
That's crazy.
It was
Drama.
yeah.
Drama. Well, take us on to you know, the national the run. We'll call it the run you made in 23. Um just kind of start us off the beginning of the season and where it all led to. I've heard the story a few times, probably too many, but I'd love listening to it every time.
I love talking about it every time.
And I've only heard bits and pieces of it. So, yeah, start at the beginning and just tell us how you did what you did.
Yeah. So the way the federation works, I qualified for the tournament in 23 and 2022. Um, so just kind of a quick little pitch for TBF. It was like $400 total entry fees, and when you win the TBF championship, it's $125,000 in cash and prizes and everything like that. So unbelievable opportunity and chance there. But you fish your regionals, um, which is kind of the local level in the beginning of the season, qualifies you for the state championship, which qualifies you for the national semifinals. And that year, the semifinals were on Sandusky Bay. Um, Going into that tournament, everyone was the whole talk was you need to catch smallmouth. You need to go find where the smallies are. You're not going to be able to win the tournament without smallmouth. And I actually finished third. I finished third place in that tournament, all on largemouth, all on greenfish. Um,
It's
my
impressive.
my babies, I that's
Yeah.
usually my jam whenever I go up there.
Yeah.
Um, but was lucky enough to be able to qualify for the national championship, which we found out. I think they tell it to you in December, like the when and where of that is. That way, they don't release that before, so they have like people trying to cherry pick and jump in, which is nice. So they released that sometime in December usually, and found out it was Lake of the Ozarks, um, and I think it was towards the end of March. And just so happened that the day of cutoff, the before the 2 weeks of off limits, fell right in between where my birthday was. So my birthday is on March 9th, so it's coming up pretty soon. About to be 38. That's
I
ooh,
feel it. I feel it.
ooh, yeah. But it was right where my birthday was, and where I work right now, you get your birthday off.
Oh,
Um, so
killer.
I took me a little 3-day weekend and went there to practice before cutoff happened, and we drove. I forget how long it was, 9 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, in the pouring down rain. It was freezing cold. It was like 40 degrees the whole time we're driving out there. Me and my buddy Aaron went out there to practice. I roll into the launch ramp at like 3 o'clock, and I look at him. I'm like, "You want to go fishing, or do you want to go back to the hotel and have a couple cold pops and just relax and get ready for tomorrow?" He looks and he's like, "Let's go, man." Turns out, in the 3 hour span that we fished in that practice day, was the fish that won me the tournament.
Had
Um,
you ever been there before?
Crazy.
never been there before, never seen the lake, heard about it. Um, but yeah, that 3 hour tournament, or the 3 hour practice that me and him had, that was miserable, pouring down rain. He didn't bring a BC rain suit, so I had to give him my spare rain suit. We're out there 40 degrees, freezing cold, but that was the fish that we found that actually won the tournament for me.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah, we practiced 2 other days, and one of the days it snowed. Um, the ramps were frozen.
Mm.
It was
Shout out
miserable.
Aaron on that. Shout out
Yeah,
Aaron.
he's a beast.
Not
Yeah,
this Aaron.
he's good,
Absolutely.
dude.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
different Aaron.
Not you.
Yeah.
It's Aaron Mayer, right? Is it
Yeah.
Mayer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know him. He's a
Yep.
good dude. Good
Oh
Blue
yeah.
Rock supporter for sure.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, all
You
right.
might know
All
a
right.
guy that likes that
Oh yeah.
that likes that brand.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
the tournament day was absolutely crazy. So tournament rolls around. Um, the morning of the first day, it was like 22 degrees. Um, the launch ramp was freezing. People were sliding, trying to back their boats down because you got co-anglers trying to back
Oh,
people's trucks down, and
sketch.
the ramps are
Sketch.
freezing, and it was brutal. I drove through like 4 miles of fog because it wasn't foggy where we launched from, but after we made this bend in the lake, it was just a crazy fog bank, and there was one boat ahead of me, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden I get into his wake. I'm like, all right, that was weird. And then like 30 seconds later, I get into his wake again. Like, where is this dude? And then I get into his wake again. Like, I think we were both just doing this.
That's the
We were
worst.
so it was terrifying. We were so discombobulated. We had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. You're scared to even look at your GPS and take your eyes
uh
off the phone. Like
oh,
it's
it was
it's bad.
yeah,
I've been there for sure.
yeah. But it all it all worked out. It was at the end of the first day, the guy that was leading it had 23 pounds. I think I had 16 pounds. So I was like 8 pounds out of the lead. So that kind of crushed my dreams. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I can shoot for because if you make the day three cut, if you win your region and make the day three cut, you get to qualify for the All American. So I'm like, all right, that's my goal. That's what I'm going to try and get. Um, Day two comes by, rolls in, and I close the deficit to 4 pounds. Um, he had like 10 pounds or something like that, and I came in with 13 pounds, I think. So I'm only 4 pounds out of the lead after day two. Day three rolls by, and I have the day everybody dreams of. It was amazing. Um, Camera guy in my boat for most of it, so that was really cool. Um, and just absolutely waylay them on your blue rock spinnerbait,
Yeah.
um, and end up winning that tournament by 8 pounds.
Well, you said spinner bait, singular.
Spinnerbait.
Tell us about that because you only had one in the boat, right?
I did. So I from Ohio, I usually use a little quarter-ounce one. And going there, the fish were bigger, they were more aggressive. It was a little deeper water, so I was using the half ounce in the kicker color that you have. It's got like the chartreuse towards the bottom.
Yeah.
I only had one spinnerbait uh, in that color in my boat, and I only had one bite in practice on that spinnerbait. But for some reason, that was what told me to throw in the during the tournament, and I rode that one spinnerbait all 3 days. There was one point in time I got stuck in a tree. I don't even know what I was doing, but there was a tree. It felt like a quarter mile away that I casted that I got stuck in, and I looked at my co-angler. This was on day two, and I had a feeling I was making day three. And on day two, I look at my co-angler and I'm like, we're going to get it. So I turned the trolling motor up. I raised the motor up, turned the trolling motor to 10, and I lift it up and I'm going. And I just ramp over this one tree and I get back into this backwater and I get it unstuck. And I'm like, all right, we're good. I got
Yeah, I
it.
remember you showing me that thing afterwards, after the
Yeah.
tournament. It looks like you just put it in a blender and turned it on for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, there's like 7 strands left. It's just like,
That's,
yeah,
that's awesome, like, regardless of what brand of spinnerbait was, like, it just makes it a really cool story, like, it goes back to, like, that instinctiveness and, like you said, the sixth sense, like, for whatever reason, you caught a real big one day one, like flipping a tube or something, didn't you? I can't remember,
right.
you told
Yeah,
me, and then,
my
like
my biggest bass I ever weighed in a tournament was my first bite of the tournament, and it was a 639 largemouth flipping a tube on
yeah.
a tree that I fished in the pre-practice, didn't catch fish. I fished it in regular practice, didn't catch fish. For some reason, I decided to fish it in the tournament, and I caught a 6 pounder off of there first flip on it.
Mm,
And that was my first bite of the tournament.
probably tricked you in and he threw a tube for another 6 hours and
I
didn't get
did.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd take a
Yeah.
trick on a 6 pounder though, but
Yeah. Any
for
day.
whatever reason, you pulled in that pocket and you probably saw some wind blowing or some bait, and like you're thinking spinner bait, and you rode it out, man. You made the comeback, and
Yeah.
it was
There was
cool.
a key adjustment that I made on that on day two. I rolled in and during pre-practice I was catching them on a rock crawler on a crankbait in that same area. And the first fish I hooked on the crankbait on day two, it came off. And for whatever reason, when it came off, that just triggered my brain into trying something else. And that's when I picked up I started throwing that spinnerbait a lot more. And that's man, they were absolutely choking it.
So, were there guys scoping in this tournament?
Mhm. Yeah,
So you're telling me you beat scopers with a spinnerbait?
I did. I
That's
channeled my inner Jason Christie on that one.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Was the
Yeah,
guy
if
with
you
the big lead the day one, was he scoping?
a little bit.
Gotcha.
If you go to shoot, what's the Pursuit app? They still have that. They call it like Federation Angler, I think. If
Yeah,
you go to the Pursuit app, they still have that half hour TV show up.
nice.
And you can see there were a couple of guys in the top five that were scoping. They didn't specifically say that he was, but I know he was a little bit. He was throwing a jerk bait on some brush piles and stuff.
Did his fish just quit biting, or do you think he ran out of
Yeah,
fish, or I
yeah. I actually became pretty good friends with him, and he actually ended up winning the TBF championship last year. So he qualified
oh,
back to back years and
cool.
won. So he's
That's
awesome.
cool.
He's fishing the MLF Invitationals this year. Yeah, I'm excited for him. But I talked to him after that tournament, and he said he pulled into this one little windblown pocket, and they were just 6 pounders blowing up everywhere. And he just loaded the boat. And day two, the wind changed, so it never was right for him again. So that bite kind of died on him.
Daggone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be a good pocket to pull in, wouldn't it?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those like that doesn't happen here in Ohio. That's what sucks.
no,
Like, there's a little schooling that goes on in some of these lakes, but it's a very small window, and they're definitely not 6 pounders. Uh,
they're the little ones. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But well, so through winning that, I know there's a package. Tell us about that, and like it qualified you to fish something bigger, right? But you
hmm
kind of, chose to take the family route. Like I want to hear like about that and why you made that decision and stuff.
Yeah. So when you win that tournament, you get the big Happy Gilmore check that's sitting over there. It says $125,000, but it's not actually all cash. You win a Ranger 520L, which was obviously a big chunk of that amount.
Absolutely.
Um, that didn't fit in my garage, so I had to sell that. So I still got the same 519 I was fishing out of for that tournament. But you do get some cash. They give you a couple like a clothing package, and I got some power pole certificates which are on the boat right now. But by winning that, it also qualifies you for the All American and the Toyota Series Championship, which I had dreamed of fishing both of those ever since I started fishing. So to be able to fish those, I was just in awe the whole time. So
Yeah.
I fished Lake Hartwell for the All American, which was awesome. Um, those spotted bass are crazy. I didn't know anything about blueback herring or spotted bass like that, so that was a pretty cool learning. Yeah, yeah, for 3 days of practice. Never been there before. Um, but then I also qualified me for the Toyota Series Championship, which 2 years ago it was on Table Rock, another place I had always kind of dreamed of, kind of a bucket list place, but I kind of stuck in that tournament too. But that was a lot of fun to go to. It also qualifies you for the MLF Invitationals, which um, part of that package is that you get $5,000 towards whatever entry fees of any tournament you want to fish. But qualifying for the MLF Invitationals, it was like $5,000 a tournament, and there's 6 tournaments, and I wasn't able to come up with the funding to get not only the 6 weeks off to fish the tournament series, the remaining amount of entry fee money. I wasn't able to swing any of that, so I chose to take that money and apply it to the Northern Toyota Series, which I fished last year. Um, Ended up finishing 25th in points in that, fishing Champlain, St. Lawrence River, and the Potomac, 3 lakes that I had never fished as a boater before. So that was awesome. Exceeded my expectations in that, and I was able to qualify for the Toyota Series for a second time. Um, this Toyota Series Championship, and fished that last year in on Lake Wheeler. So that was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's kind of opened up some doors for me. I've been able to get out a little bit more, um, and kind of explore
For sure.
what is outside of Ohio.
Yep. Do you think it's important for a guy to fish the co-angler side? Do you think it benefited you as you were like coming up through like finding your own become a before you became a boater?
That was huge. I tell new people that ask me questions kind of similar to that all the time. Fish with as many people as you can, whenever you can, at any point in time. I fished like ABA and everything, starting when I was 16, when I was able to, and that's just a co-angler draw. So you get to fish with um, whoever you can, whoever you draw. So any boater or anybody you fish with, you should be able to pull away with some new tidbit of information, new technique, new thought process, even just a way he approached a stump or something like that. Like there's always something new that you can learn from anybody. And I do feel that unfortunately they took away the co-anglers as the bass opens, but that was a huge help for me too, being able to jump in with a lot of that
Yeah,
caliber boater.
right. Yeah. I didn't like the way they did that either. Like they kind of tried to blame COVID, which like was the one thing that
Right,
brought like tens of thousands of new anglers to the sport. I do think it's going to end up growing like the kayak side of things, which is cool, but like I think it comes down to the forward facing stuff. Like
yeah,
nobody wants to sit. It'd be like fishing a bed tournament as a
right,
pro every time, but I get it. But it's tournament fishing's in a really weird place right now with where the technology's at, and um, y- you've got you could have several podcasts alone just on that topic, and I'm sure we will at some point. But um, yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
You-
But
But
absolutely, I tell people fish with whoever, however, whenever you can, because that you should be able to pull away with some sort of knowledge, or even just bounce ideas off of that guy or that person that you're fishing
yeah, my wife and I have talked about me fishing the BFLs as a co-angler, because I just fish a little club, and it's me and my partner, and I mean, we've fished together, I think, coming on 6 years now, and um, I mean, when you fish by yourself or with the same person for years, um, you'll grow definitely, but it's not the same. Like you said, just picking up those little tidbits from other people, or like I fished with Jesse and just watched him flip a little, I don't know, some kind of little flipping bug, and the way
Secret,
he just
secret.
right, the way he just picks apart like every little angle of a rock, like there was nothing for me to catch by the time I got there, and for me, like I fish fast, and a lot of times it's too fast, but to see him just sit there and just drag this thing, like, I mean, like
with.
you said, like, you're
Yep.
just gonna learn something from whoever you're with if you're paying attention.
Yeah, that was huge. I obviously fished with dad, but we were part of a pretty large club when I was little too, and they had the little youth programs. So there was a couple of little youngsters that were fishing that, but we got to fish with I fished with probably 10 or 15 different guys even when I was little going up through that through that club. So even then I was kind of picking up little tidbits and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lifetime of just built knowledge, I think, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
get into your 30s, and um, that's where a lot of guys do their damage for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, I've got 32 years of tournament experience.
Right.
Right.
And most of
That's
us are lucky if we have 10.
right.
Yeah. It's crazy how young these kids are getting really good now too. Especially on the technology side. Like it's just uh, the fact is we're getting a little older, which sucks, but it's amazing watching these kids adapt and you know, it's crazy. Like I said, it's in a crazy spot right now. The old heads are whining and the young guns are uh
Kicking butt.
kicking butt, and I think you got the guys in between that are like your Connell, Wheeler, like everybody gives guys like them a bad rap for like, shaking a minnow all the time, but like the casual like bass fishing fan doesn't remember that Jacob Wheeler kicked everybody's teeth in 2011 and won a all-American
Right.
flipping a tube in a creek.
Yep.
Like the dude won a lot of money before live scope and
Right.
will continue to with or without.
Yep.
So I think the guys that like Jordan Lee's another one that's really good at like back and forth, just instinctive, knowing when to do what. Like those guys at that level are just, I enjoy watching all of them. But it's, it's crazy. Like I don't know, and I think it's like with on the forward facing topic, it's going to keep evolving, and roles are going to continue to be made, and like you see what the NPFL already did. Um, but I don't know where it's all going to end up. But um, I do, I do feel like all of that in general is going to make the kayak tournament side of things grow exponentially. With the loss of co-angler, because those guys are going to find a place that they want to compete and fish.
Right.
And
Yep.
to me, a kayak trail is the next place those guys go.
Absolutely.
Well, and the entry fees at the highest level of kayak fishing right now are still a fraction of the cost of going to like the Northern Opens, like or the Toyotas, like you're doing.
Yeah.
Like you can fish an entire season off the same amount of money you'd spend on one Open. Like
Right.
it's just nuts.
Yeah.
Like why wouldn't you drive to 5 different states and fish for $250 a pop versus
Hmm.
Yeah,
drive to one and spend $1,800 or whatever it is?
Yeah. On top of your boat, on top of your truck, on top
Right.
of all that other stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
It's
so
kind of caught my eye recently too. I'm like, man, that'd probably be pretty
oh, it caught my eye for sure. I got a brand new kayak sitting in my garage now that I'm rigging up. Um,
oh yeah,
nice.
Aaron's all in. He's yakking
well,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, don't get me started on a new hobby because I'll be all in on that too. But you were fortunate that by you winning, you got to go to the Toyota series or the Northern Toyotas. What was that like? Because now, like, I mean, there's some pretty big names that fish those, and now you're competing against
Yeah.
them. Is it
Yeah, that was
intimidating? Like
crazy.
mentally,
I
how do
wouldn't
you
say it
prepare for
was
that?
so last year I'm not gonna say I took it lightly, but I just kind of wanted to have fun and see what happens. I never fished any of those lakes before, so my goals going into that one was I was the ultimate goal for me was to cash a check and make the Toyota championship. Those were the two goals that I had kind of set for myself. But I just wanted to kind of have fun. Like the entry fees were paid for by winning that tournament. So I was just kind of see what happens. Never fished any of those lakes before as a boater. So, but yeah, it's crazy on the St. Lawrence River. I look one way, and Corey Johnston idles past me after he just won the Bassmaster Bassmaster tournament, and I'm fishing right beside him. Got to compete against that guy. So
that's
that
that's
was
bad news.
right. Yeah, but I mean that was really cool seeing and going up against those guys. The Lake Champlain one, I finished 20th in that tournament, and Kyle Cordiana, the guy that won that tournament, was 50 yards away from me. I saw him all 3 days, just absolutely whacking them. I just didn't have a fast enough boat to get to that spot first.
Now,
But
was he catching smallmouth?
yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yep, that was a lot of fun.
What what tournament was it a couple years ago? Was that Champlain where Eddie did really well? Like he almost won.
Yeah.
That was on largemouth though, right?
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Brian Thrift were like going
Yeah, I
head to head.
remember
Yeah.
Thrift. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's well there's a YouTube video somewhere of Eddie having that the last I think it was the final day, but yeah, he wrecked them. Big
Yeah.
largemouth. So what was
Yeah.
your
That's an awesome lake.
what was the other one? Well,
Potomac.
the Potomac, that's right. And you've had co-angler experience there, right?
Yeah. Yep. I've fished there 2 or 3 times as a co-angler, and I had done pretty well anytime I'd been there as a co-angler, but never as a boater. And that was my one bomb. I finished like 104th or something like that. Um,
Do you
Only
feel
had
like
two
you
fish.
do you feel like you missed the tide deal or just bad area
I,
or
I think I put too much emphasis on the tide. I think I tried to outsmart myself basically,
I think I did the
and
same thing when I was there
yeah,
too.
thought too much about it. When in practice, I was rolling in, didn't really care what was going on, but I was rolling into a creek and was catching fish, and I roll into this other creek and caught fish, and then before the tournament, I'm looking and trying to configure the tides, but like I had never thought of that as I was practicing,
Yeah.
and never took note of the tide that I had caught these fish on before, and uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
I've never been there and I've never fished tidal water. Like what's the significance of that? Like why were you so focused on that?
Do you want that, or do you want me to?
Um I can give my what I've been told. So let's see, they bite on the outgoing tide, right? Like that's the when the tide's falling, that's when they eat, right? Um, and then when the tide's at its lowest point, a lot of the places they live are out of water, so you can kind of pinpoint where a bass should be. Um, and then when the tide's going back in, are they supposed to eat as well too, or is it just on the falling tide?
Most of the any of the tide changes are your better high percentage spots or times, but the tide goes back an hour every day.
Yeah,
So if you catch them on your first day of practice on a low tide at this creek at 8 o'clock in the morning, 5 days later, low tide is not at 8 o'clock in the morning anymore. It's at
right.
or
That's
whatever that time is. I can't do math.
yeah,
Whatever that time is. So like it's the biggest mental
yeah. Uh,
craziness that I
there's
just I think I just thought too much about it.
yeah, and to me, there's another little nuance along that, just like from like kind of being a river rat and watching current and stuff. But like, s- I think the moon and probably the wind has a lot to do with like how strong the tide is. Like the tournament, I fished a BFL regional down there, and like the tide just was kind of like the influx out and in was just kind of non-existent. Like you could see a little bit of current, like just barely when it was an outgoing tide when they were supposed to be chewing. But I'm like avoiding like, I'm thinking like these shows I've seen, like people stranded on a sandbar. So I'm like avoiding all these juice holes in the back of these cuts where like this tide, like I'm thinking like first time there, like, oh, this is all dry water at some point in the day. And like
Right.
when I was there, the tide wasn't even strong enough to do this. And like a lot of guys that did really well were clearing the backs of these places, flipping these pads or whatever. But just me being like a rookie on the tidal fishery, I just out of fear of like being that idiot that beaches his boat on a low tide, like didn't even go to some of those far back enough when
Calling the
I had
tournament
that
director, "I'm
exact
not gonna
fear.
make it in today."
yeah, I'm just well, you know, you get there like you go from a state like we're in just fishing mud puddles to a place like the Potomac. Yeah, you might have a couple buddies there, but if you run clear down to Aquarius or whatever the hell it is and clear back to the back, like um if something
It's a haul.
happens back there,
Yeah.
like, and it's just a random practice day and like you're thinking like always like worst case scenario, like especially never being there and
Didn't you break off your transducer or something?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, on the way down there, actually, during practice, so, yeah, I tried to have Andy bring me a transducer, which the one he brought didn't work, and it was just like so I'm on the Potomac, a tidal fishery, um, first time ever there without a freaking transducer. You know, guys are saying, "Yeah, there's stumps in here, be careful, this and that," and I'm just like so it was a bad experience for me overall, but um, but you'll have tournaments like that, but
Yeah.
it just
The crazy part, that was Potomac was the one I was most excited for.
same.
Um,
Just because of
but
your
it
history
just
there, or for what?
well, I had a little bit of past history on there, but it was as a co-angler, and so I never really paid attention to why we were where we were or anything like that. But I know tidal fisheries usually more finesse style baits kind of work. That I was expecting that little spinner bug of mine to go in there and dominate, and it didn't really work too well for me. But I uh, I just had a lot of expectations based off of my love for fishing for largemouth compared to smallmouth out of that one, and it just kind of didn't work out. I had a lot of fear, like you were talking there. One of the other things was getting stuck. I was terrified of going up on high tide and getting stuck before the tide came out. Like there was just too many variables that I'm not used to coming from Ohio that kind of
Yeah.
trip me up. But I'm
Yeah.
ready for some redemption this year.
Yeah, I wanna get back to that place at some point and, get some redemption as well. It just I don't like I don't like where that all left off, and, like, looking back now, like, I saw that in that tournament, a l a lot of guys that caught them. Like, there's a lot of dead water there, and there's little confined spots that hold a lot of fish, and I learned a ton. I took it as a learning experience. It wasn't the way I wanted to end a good year of the BFLs, but uh, you gotta go like that's tournament fishing. Like we all go through that phase where like we just take some ass whoopings and donate, and you gotta do it to learn. Um, it just is what it is. So we'll get back over there
So what's your next phase, Andy? Like, where are you headed next?
You
Like,
know,
what's
I'm
this year
not.
look like?
Yeah. So I'm doing a lot of local stuff again. Me and Dad's doing TBX, trying to defend our title. I am fishing the Northern Toyota Series again, so excited to get back out there. This year they're going to Champlain in June, St. Lawrence River in August, and Potomac in September. So switching up the times from last year when I was there. So we'll see what all that looks like. But those are my three that I'm pretty excited to get out and go to.
for sure. Like, um, is there any part of you that like wants to fish professionally, or have you kind of let that ship sail and you've
Yeah,
got
I mean
young
I'm
kids and everything?
yeah, it is hard with with young kids. Every time I leave for that, my 6-year-old daughter, she cries and
Oh
gives
yeah.
me hugs and don't let me leave. And I call her after practice or something, and I'll do like FaceTime, and she's crying when we stay by and
Oh, that's
everything.
the
Like that's
best.
that's brutal. But I got to give props to the pros that do that and are away from their families that much. Like that's a giant sacrifice, but you got to kind of be a little selfish to do
Yeah,
that, and kind of it's that's just kind of that's your job. That's your job.
right.
That's what you do. Same as any kind of sales guy that travels around or anything like that. That's just
Yeah,
what you're expected to do. But I'm definitely leaving it open. My wife is a huge supporter of me. My mom's a huge supporter, and my dad obviously is.
yeah,
But yeah, my wife is ready to drop everything and go RVing with me.
nice.
Pull a pull
That's
an
what it
RV if
takes, man.
if
Yeah,
that ever happens. She's ready to go.
yeah. Well, that's good because you can't do it without support. I think we all can
No,
agree to that. So,
absolutely.
yeah, well, that's
So
awesome.
is there a point where like you qualify and you just know this is the year my finances are in order, I've got the support of my family, like I'm taking the leap and I'm going for it. Like is do you know like what that moment looks like for you or what you need to have in order to make that jump?
um, I don't know what that would look like right now, but it would it would definitely have to be in a much better financial situation
Yeah,
than currently. Um, even with that TBF championship win, like that gets gobbled up pretty quick.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
taxes took quite a hammer on that one,
yeah.
So
but
how do you think guys do that then? Like do they just go homeless for a year and invest everything they have into it or like
if you take a look at how like Brody Campbell's doing that right now, he sold his house, sold everything, and he's just going out there fishing. Yeah, he's that's the definition of all in. You can only go that all in before I feel like before you have kids and
Right. The kids are the
crazy kind
X
of
factor with a
responsibility.
lot of
That's
it.
the yeah,
Um, and like some guys just uh eh, have the money. Their parents did well or
right.
whatever, like, and
yeah, they're just
that's
teed up
good
better
for
for it.
them. Yeah, and I don't hate on those guys either. Like I kind of live through them if they get an opportunity because their parents worked hard and were successful, and that's why I don't run on these. A lot of these younger kids, these college kids, get a bad rap. Daddy's money and all this and that, but it's like, hey, man, like their dad busted their ass. Like, good for
Right.
them. Like,
Yep.
so yeah, it takes money, like, that's a fact straight up, and kids, and if you're a family man, like, it makes it way harder, way, way harder, so,
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't want to put myself into a situation where I'm bad financially or kind of end up going bankrupt or anything like that. So I'm just trying to kind of take it easy and
yeah,
put the feelers out there to see. Like I had always told myself the with as many bass opens as I fished as a co-angler, I'd always told myself if I win a boat, I'm going to try and fish some circuit
yeah,
as a boater. And I finally won a boat 2 years ago. So I took that as my sign to kind of take that leap and at least kind of dip my toe in the AAA level and see what happens. So
yeah. Well,
just kind of keep that ball rolling
it
and see where it takes me, you know?
it could happen faster than you think for you, man, like, because you could win a Toyota Series just as quick as the next guy, like, the skill set's there, and then, like, that happens, you pay your bills a year or 2 ahead and, put
Right.
enough money aside to, if you stay in good graces with your job and everything, just, hey, I want to try this, and say you try it and you win another big one, and it's a streaky sport.
Mhm.
And you've seen guys do it. And every pro story is different, I think, but there's a lot of guys that just made it just like that, just got hot at the right
Right.
time, and um, but I agree. It's hard to just put everything out there when you've got kids to feed, and I feel that 100%.
Yeah.
So, and this, aside from the whole money thing, like the factor of just like you said, the selfishness, the feeling of having a shitty practice, and then your kids call crying, and you're like, God, why am I even out here doing this?
Right. Yeah. I go an hour in practice out there and not get a bite, and I'm just sitting there just kicking myself, like, why am
Oh
I even
yeah.
here?
Poor
Yeah.
Sarah is at home. Kids are puking on her, and
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. That your head can go in some bad places if that's how you feel.
yeah, yeah. But
But I
no,
know she loves me. She supports me every step of the way. So she was
she
actually the one that told me I was gonna win the living the dream package before I even thought I would.
she
So
already knew.
she knew it. Yeah,
That's hey man, having that seed planted in your head that like your wife, your better half believes in you, like that's a big deal. So,
absolutely.
um, and then you've got a little sense of pride, like you got to prove it to her that she was right.
Right.
Yeah.
Walk back.
Cool.
You're right. Put your head down. Just
Yeah,
That's a weird you were right moment, but
right.
yeah, I'll take it again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, I guess we're over an hour in. Let's get a couple quick questions just for our local Ohio crowd. Let's
Yeah.
favorite lake in Ohio and why?
Alum Creek by far. Um, because that place is awesome.
Yeah, it is. I'll agree.
I did a kind of a presentation on at the Columbus Expo this year, and I reached out to my buddy that works for the ODNR, and he gave me some stats on Alum Creek because that's what I talked about, Alum Creek largemouth. Alum Creek has the most tournaments of any lake in Ohio as of I think that data was from 2023, but it had like over 120 tournaments in the year. Um, which blew almost every other lake out of the water without a doubt. Um, it had uh, their electroshocking like numbers were through the roof compared to any other like the past 3 year electroshocking numbers were far and above any other year they had had. So that lake is got a very healthy, very large population of bass in it. It gets hammered, it gets fished a ton,
Oh yeah.
but that place
Yeah.
is awesome. It's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I've argued with guys that tell me that lake couldn't hold a BFL, and I because you get to griping about two on Tanner's Creek and this and that, and like I'm like, dude, I don't know if you've ever fished Alum Creek, but it size wise doesn't really fish any different than like a mosquito. It's got three
Right.
poles, tons of offshore structure, like it could 110% hold a BFL, but
There's been days there where two, three, four tournaments are going on, and there's been over 100 boats fishing there,
yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
put
Uh,
together. But yeah, I
I
think it would hold it.
I think that whole argument's just it comes down to like money and politics. Like I think some of those towns give MLF money to come there and this and
Yeah.
that, so they got to go that direction. But Aaron, you hit him with one.
What you
Uh,
got?
so you had talked about one of the pieces of advice you'd give is fish with as many different people as you can, fish as a co-angler. But what about someone that is looking to take that next step up or that big leap for them? Um, what do you got for that?
So goes with any sport, right? You got to surround yourself with people that are at the caliber you want to be. Um, I I got into like sand volleyball pretty hard after college and played with the same set of people for a really long time. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun, but I noticed that I wasn't growing. That goes my competitive nature. I noticed I wasn't growing uh, at kind of being able to play that volleyball very well. So I kind of found a new group of people that were competitive, playing a different kind of level of that. So playing with them against them, hanging out with them definitely stepped my game up, and I feel like that works the same way for for fishing. If you're looking to get into that next level, um, there's steps and stairs for a reason out there. So if you're fishing local club tournaments, jump into a BFL. You can fish as a boater or a co-angler, get into that competition, see if your skill level goes up to that, to what they're doing. If you're doing well in there, jump up to Toyota Series, get a little more regional. But surrounding yourself with people to the level that you want to be at is definitely something that I feel like is very beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think the key to growth in anything is just putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, like you almost feel like you don't belong there at first, and
Yep.
it kind of forces you to elevate and do a little bit better than you were. And that's a great piece of advice for sure. For sure. What else? We good, you think, or um,
What else you got?
I don't know. I mean, we got the legend on the line here, so
I feel honored to be talking to two legends.
Come on,
do you
man.
do you have any do you have any social media or anything?
I
Anything
just
people could follow along with YouTube or
I just have
anything?
my I just have my regular Facebook page, but I have started a YouTube channel um, this year. It's Andy Fryer. Well, last year I guess Andy Fryer Fishing.
Okay.
I think I'm up to a whopping 5 videos now, but it's just kind of videos of me fishing tournaments and what I did and my thought process and um, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I found it kind of therapeutic to do that over the winter, kind of look back on it. And I did one with me and Aaron. I just posted that one a couple days ago, and I had him watch it, and he's like, "Man, that was such an awesome." We didn't cash a check. We finished like 10th or something, but he called me up and was like, "Dude, that was such an awesome day. We had so much fun, and I can't believe you caught." I caught on video. I caught as he's going down with the net, the crankbait is going out of the fish's mouth, and he scoops it. So
Nice.
that was like be able to relive moments like that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. That's a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
For sure. It's as I've gotten a little bit older, like I'm competitive, but like it's definitely not all about standing in the winner's circle every time.
Right.
And like everybody hates you if you win constantly. So you gotta let them, Andy, you gotta share a little bit. So
Share the love a little.
yeah, no, that's a good deal, man. And um, we appreciate you coming and talking with us tonight.
Anytime, man.
Yeah.
Just reach out. I'll do this whenever. I love talking fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd be interested to follow along this year with your Toyotas for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I can hop on and do a recap or something and let you know how it went or what I thought I did right or wrong and everything. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, you'd be a good person to have on, once a quarter and just chit chat about how the year's going or uh, current events and fishing or whatever. So, um,
Absolutely.
how your progress of the year's going. So, cool. Well, I think I'm
Appreciate,
good, Aaron.
yeah, appreciate you, Andy.
Anytime, guys. Thank you.
All right, brother. Well, go go
Go to
go
bed.
tuck them kids away and yeah, we'll chat soon.
Sounds good. See you
All
guys.
right,
All right, see you,
buddy.
Thanks
We'll
buddy.
again.
see you. Thanks, man.
We want to thank everyone that tuned into this episode. Please make sure you follow us so you can hear more episodes just like this one.